Do you?
Oscar should take notice. It's one of the best pictures of the year from the director of Good Will Hunting.
What is going on here? Steve!
Promised Land. Rated R.
Closed captioning brought to you by ChristianMingle.com. Find God's match for you.
Single Christians, good news. More than 2 million new members have joined ChristianMingle.com in the past year alone. Join for free and find God's match for you at ChristianMingle.com.
And the pressure is on for the Senate as Majority Leader Harry Reid and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell race against the clock to find a fix to the fiscal cliff. So joining me now are CNN contributor and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona and Republican strategist Ron Bonjean. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Allison.
Hi, good morning.
Ron, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Reid and McConnell, they really are the focus in the Senate, but in the House, it's Speaker John Boehner.
Right.
I got to ask you this. Is his job on the line if Republicans balk at any deal that's reached?
Oh, no, not at all. Speaker Boehner is extremely strong. His conferences support him and knows that he's been in a very tough position trying to negotiate this fiscal deal with the president. He's been doing this for now weeks, months, working on this deal. And, you know, they gave it a shot. They tried their best. And the House, House Republicans wouldn't go for it and said, you know what, it's up to the Senate. And if the Senate passes something, the House now will consider it. So I do think that the Speaker is in a very strong position. And besides, this is a very difficult job. And I don't see many Republicans standing up and wanting to take Speaker Boehner on because not many other people could do this job like Speaker Boehner has.
I agree. I can see you saying that. But, I mean, think about it. He didn't look good when Plan B couldn't even go to a vote. I mean, how could he be strong in this position?
Well, I think House Republicans see the position he's in. They're divorcing the deal versus his leadership. He has presented it in a very effective leadership style. He has communicated with his House Republican Conference in a very solid way. You know, they stand behind him. They're not supportive of what he brought forward. You know, and I think that the Speaker was positioning this deal to try to prevent tax increases for going up for people, trying to prevent people over $1 million for taxes to go up, and unfortunately that just didn't happen.
Okay, Maria, President Obama making his first Sunday show appearance in 3 years tomorrow on Meet the Press. A recent CNN poll shows that more Americans will hold congressional Republicans responsible for going over the fiscal cliff instead of the president, 48% to 37% there. Has making his case to the public either on recent trips or with his upcoming appearance, has that really given President Obama the leverage in this debate?
I certainly think it has helped, Allison, because what this president has been very good at, I think, throughout his tenure at the White House and definitely through the campaign, is making the issues that he is fighting for and that he has been talking about relevant to everyday Americans. And he has been asking for those same Americans to make their voices heard with their congressional leaders. And as we all know, there is no one more important to congressional leaders than their own constituents back home. And so when the president asks constituents to let congressional leaders know what it's going to mean to them if their taxes rise on January 1st, then leaders are going to hear from their constituents back home. And I think that's a very powerful piece of pressure that Washington actually does respond to. So I think he has been very deft at that, and I think it is something that has helped him throughout his first term, and I think will help him throughout his second term as well.
But, Maria, critics say the president really should go out there and talk to more people on Capitol Hill. I mean, what do you say to that?
I actually do agree with that, Allison. I do think that the president should be more open to talking personally to members of Congress. And, you know, we'll see if he'll do that in his second term. But I also think that what this president has going for him and what really helped him and worked for him during the campaign is that he had the American people, the majority of American people, think that this president does understand what they're going through, does understand, you know, their everyday economic problems, and he has been able to really translate what the policies of Washington mean for them. And so he has been able to use the voices of the American people to make the case for him for what is actually best for America moving forward. Now, I do think it would be more powerful if he would use that in conjunction with a little bit more personal touch. And he does have that personal touch. Now, you know, he has decided that he chooses to spend more time with his family. And as a mother, you know, I can't say that that's not a good reason. But we'll see moving forward if he decides to do that more from a personal standpoint.
Okay, Ron, let me throw this question at you. You know, both sides agree that any deal reached will mean that, you know, no one gets everything that they want. For Republicans, I want to know, what are the sticking points that would keep members of Congress from saying yes to an agreement? Where do they sort of draw that line?
Well, I think, you know, the whole issue right now is it's going to be a small deal. It's on tax rates. You know, it's on the threshold right now. They're talking this, you know, the number that the president's thrown out is around $400,000. I think, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Republicans would have laughed at that, and now I think they're looking at that much more seriously because of the fallback bill the president wants to put on the table of $250,000. So I do think that, you know, the tax rates are the key to this deal, because we're not dealing with sequestration, we're not dealing with defense cuts, we're not dealing with, you know, raising the debt ceiling until next year. So I really think that's probably the sticking point at this time.
Maria, are Democrats going to do enough for spending cuts, or are they just going to kind of wiggle through that?
Well, we'll see what the Senate is able to come up with. There doesn't seem to be enough time, though, Allison, for the kind of spending cuts that we really need to focus on for the long term to be negotiated in the next 72 hours, because, as you noted, those are very difficult positions for Democrats. It doesn't mean that Democrats don't think that there should be spending cuts. The president is the first one to say that spending cuts are something that he has put on the table and that we do need to negotiate in whatever long-term deal gets done. But right now, Washington has really pushed us to the brink, and I think what everybody agrees on, and I think Ron would agree with me on this, is that no one wants to get blamed for taxes going up on 98% of the American people. And so that, I think, is what we're going to be seeing, and whatever deal gets done, those will be the things that will be underscored. And then I think there will be a commitment for longer-term spending cuts as well as tax reform.
Okay, Maria Cardona, Ron Bonjean, thanks very much. Good conversation there.
Thank you, Allison.
Can the government legally eavesdrop on your private conversations? A controversial measure is on its way to President Obama's desk. Supporters say it will stop terrorists right in their tracks. Opponents say it could lead to abuse.
Welcome to Chevy's year-end event.
So the 5.3-liter V8 Silverado can tow up to 9,600 pounds?
315 horsepower.
What's that in reindeer power?
Chevy's giving more. Now through January 2nd, no monthly payments until spring for qualified buyers. Get the Silverado for 0% APR.